Migration from outside the European Union in Sicily is one of the biggest contemporary issues faced by the tiny island off the coast of Italy. Social farming is a concept which involves a multifunctional view of agriculture by combining management of production processes and creation of services and welfare for those who are involved in it. It has been integrated within Sicily to offer a better quality of life to non-EU migrants in particular. However, the barriers faced by this movement are preventing it from being effective across Sicily. The growing inflow of migrants coming from non-EU countries has led to an increase in the level of vulnerability to labor exploitation. This, combined with the continued involvement of the Sicilian Cosa Nostra within the migrant crisis, provides major obstacles for the successes of social farming. This podcast will highlight such issues and how schemes such as El Marisco Farm overcome these by using agricultural resources to provide social or educational care services for vulnerable people. By analyzing this, recommendations can be given on how social farming can be improved in the future, given the fact that the migrant crisis is an evolving phenomenon. Italy has become an attractive destination for migrants. At the end of 2018, the total number of stranded migrants within Italy was 135,858. Sicily is a major contributor to this number, as it has become a major center for asylum seekers, evidenced by the opening of the Cara in Mineo, which is the largest reception center for asylum seekers and visa applicants in Europe. The roots of this involvement into Sicily can be found in the neoliberal agenda that induced the globalization movement. This resulted in the financial crisis of 2008 and the EU enlargement arrangements, allowing existing EU member states to manage the opening up of their labour markets to citizens of the new member states. This has encouraged a rise in the number of migrants who enter Sicily. In a different way, many non-EU migrants flee their origin countries due to the aftermath of events such as the Arab Spring crisis and wars across Africa, primarily in places such as Libya and Syria. By interviewing Bar Olsen, who arrived in 2016, it was found that Sicily was more protected from wars and diseases unlike Guinea and the rest of Africa. In addition, the existence of an informal economy due to the failures of the large influx of migrants demonstrates how easy it is to acquire undocumented work, especially in the agricultural sector, and allows for more irregular migrants to work unnoticed as randomly hired day laborers, contributing to the reproduction of the informal economy. The different factors highlighted have led to the rise in the number of migrants from both inside and outside the EU. Yet the barriers faced by the non-EU migrants certainly outweigh those faced from the inside the European Union, and this is seen as soon as they reach Sicily.
Upon entering, the reception centres which deal with migrants are often capable of dealing with individuals from outside the EU, as the intercultural mediators who work with them are often performing tasks such as interpreting and translation to social service and advocacy, without necessarily having received specific training for any of these tasks. This demonstrates a major barrier for non-EU migrants who often fail to receive the support they need to integrate and find employment within Sicily. This limits the success of social projects found within sectors such as agriculture, as non-EU migrants do not have any knowledge of their existence and are forced to move into illegal employment to survive. In a different way, they also lack the benefits associated with being a member of the European Union. This is exemplified through a case study on Romanians and Tunisians, where the former receives unrestricted access to the territory and once residents have equal treatment to Italian nationals in all fields, including employment and welfare, and this allows them to assimilate into society successfully. Yet non-EU citizens are limited to seasonal 9-month contracts, to which after they are forced to return to their origin country. This only encourages employers to hire migrants from within the EU due to their unrestricted access to the territory, which allows them to work throughout the whole year. Furthermore, a particular obstacle comes in the form of the Ingaggio, a temporary contract which is adopted by farmers due to it being a cheaper employment option, since they only need to pay contributions for the minimum number of days required by social security rules. Though it offers more regulatory contracts to EU migrants, it exposes non-EU migrants to the contrary. This results in the increased presence of EU migrants, which consequently provides fewer opportunities for non-EU migrants to enter the territory regularly, leading to increasing levels of illegal trade in work contracts, so-called fake contracts, and thus leads to increasing levels of irregularity in migration status. Ultimately, the overcoming of these barriers would lead to the optimization of resources and implementation of language policies concerning immigration, and the result would be an integration of non-EU and EU permanent immigrants in Italy as a social, cultural, and economic resource.
The farm is one of a combination of different social farming projects that has become a fundamental method in highlighting the value of agriculture. It is the result of a framework that tackles the complex and articulated problem of social and working integration of migrants. The main social farm in this analysis is El Marisco and its owner Laura's success in incorporating non-EU migrants in agricultural and kitchen work. This opportunity has been successful in the life of Bar Alsin from Guinea, one of the workers at Marisco, who, when asked about the benefits of social farming, responded.
He learned how to guide the agriculture machines, and also something in the kitchen, so to work in the kitchen, in some kind of restaurants or places in which they need some waiters.
One of the key employment barriers is the lack of real acknowledgement for social projects, such as El Marisco. However, Laura's speech in the European Parliament demonstrated how this issue is becoming recognized on a global scale as a solution to the influx of non-EU migrants. This aids in providing these individuals with a different path to the culture of illegality that they are faced with at the reception centres upon their arrival.
A different employment barrier faced is the disadvantages that come with being a non-EU migrant. To combat this, El Marisco offers a near 2-year-long program that allows the participants to integrate into society in a way that they wouldn't be able to within the seasonal contracts they would experience in other sectors of employment. Additionally, this program also overcomes the concept of the engagio, as well as the competencies of intercultural mediators in handling social health, by focusing on more than the production element of agriculture, and providing disadvantaged groups with productive activities that promote their rehabilitation, social inclusion, and employability.
He always worked until now, and for this reason he met also people that taught him how to do the works, and for him was really easy for this reason, because he met people who cares of him and taught him how to live here too.
Due to this being a recent project and only offering a limited number of opportunities, it is important to analyse what employment that the majority of non-EU migrants become involved with. This is represented through the influence of the Cosa Nostra in contributing to the culture of illegality. The mafia is a key contributing barrier in preventing the success of social farming. As previously mentioned, the Cara in Minau is the largest centre for asylum seekers and migrants alike. However, due to its size, its isolated location, and the institutional complexity of its management, this Cara is frequently in the news associated to mafia and corruption, and has led it to be forced to close by the end of 2019. This severely impacts on social farming, in how the reception centres that should encourage legality is instead promoting the joining of mafia groups. This hinders social projects as they fail to be recognised as pathways to employment. Migrants are commonly faced by the mafia before they even depart from their countries of origin. The histories of the travels of migrants demonstrate how they are forced by trafficking groups to remain under their jurisdiction upon their arrival in Sicily. A study conducted by the International Organization for Migration revealed that 70% of migrants were subjected to at least one of the 5 direct indicators of human trafficking, exploitation, and abuse. These challenges demonstrate the constraints to social farming, as many non-EU migrants are compelled to join illegal activities such as prostitution. This is seen in the case of Nigerian women, where they are often indebted to their traffickers to a sum of €30,000 once they arrive in Europe. In regards to agriculture, the Cosa Nostra has become increasingly involved in what is called agro-mafia. It has been found that the mafia has profited immensely since 2011, after the financial crisis fragmented this sector. The infiltration of the Cosa Nostra in agricultural practices has shown to be a barrier to social farming, because the mafia impose themselves as legitimate businesses, which deceives non-EU migrants into joining their criminal organizations.
The issue of mafia involvement has been tackled with organizations such as Libera Terra that have promoted the benefits of Anti-Mafia Law 109/96 in 1995. This has resulted in the confiscation of many properties in Sicily, Calabria, Puglia, and Campania, which has led to an opportunity for people to create a future free of violence and corruption. A new work ethic focused on organic methods has been implemented, and this strives to demonstrate an anti-mafia land movement. The products sold by Libera Terra demonstrate how social farming is beneficial in creating a more ecological culture. By taking away lands from the mafia, this organization is now coordinating more than 1,600 regionally based associations, groups, and schools committed to constructing political, cultural, and organizational synergies, which will spread the culture of legality. Though this may be perceived as a great achievement, one problem arising from this is the limited amount of opportunities offered to migrants. By taking lands back, the main focus is placed in offering jobs to local people who are prioritized by Liberterra. However, the growing amount of social projects on the agricultural sector is indeed resolving this problem. This is demonstrated with Sicilia Integral, a project focused on social farming through methods of sustainability. This model aims at resolving issues of contemporary agriculture and building partnerships between immigrant workers, students' association, and Sicilian organic companies. In a similar way to El Morisco, the scheme sets the foundations for changes towards the growth of consciousness and active citizenship of non-EU migrants. While social farming projects are making a difference to the lives of some non-EU migrants such as Alcin, the majority continue to have no knowledge of their existence, a crucial barrier in the success of these schemes.
It is clear that there are a number of employment barriers for non-EU migrants who have moved to Sicily to find a better quality of life. While there is a number of social projects on offer to them, as seen through El Morisco, Liberterra, and Sicilia Integra, these only support a small proportion of migrants who enter Sicily. Ultimately, the majority fall into the culture of illegality, such as underpaid seasonal work or the mafia groups that operate throughout Sicily. There is, however, important strides being made to help support the growing number of non-EU migrants who have entered Sicily. As seen by Alcin Bar from El Morisco, they are gradually integrating into society due to the schemes offered through social farming. The programs provide a way of overcoming employment barriers by giving non-EU migrants the employability and social skills they need to assimilate into Sicily. The social farming schemes, such as the ones explored in this podcast, are always improving, yet the recommendations that should be made to further develop them are as follows: a wider recognition of social farming across the world as a means to improve the lives of non-EU migrants, the improvement of farm resources that allow an enlargement in the amount of participants of social farming schemes, and finally, the acknowledgement of the fact that the level of non-EU migrants is increasing and legal frameworks need to be produced to grant citizenship to proportion.
Thank you very much for listening, and we hope that this podcast has been insightful.